Hello, Year 11, and welcome to Mathematics. Now, the very fact that you're listening to me via this video probably suggests that this is a little bit different. And different is certainly going to be the word you hear quite a lot. You probably noticed when you walked into this room that it actually looks different. And that's just the beginning. The one clear message that I want you to take from today's lesson is that you can expect maths to be different. It has to be different because we have a lot of evidence to say that the way students approach maths until year 10 is not at the standard or level that's required for years 11 and 12. So things have to change. You have to be thinking about this subject differently. Just before we get on to the content, I thought it was interesting to note a couple of things that the Australia's chief scientist actually wrote to a year 10 student just at the end of last year. I think it's from very sound advice. He says, build a solid foundation, keep the doors of opportunity open. This means building your expertise in English and maths. So, really, the emphasis now for the next 7 terms, 2 years, call it whatever, end of the HSC for you, is for you to have something valuable to take beyond school. And whether that be into employment, into university, know that, and even if at this stage you don't know where you're going to go afterwards, know that to have expertise in mathematics is gives you wonderful opportunities. Why? Because in this next statement, mathematics is the language of science and commerce. So maybe you're not going into science, but you're going into commerce. Your thinking skills that will develop throughout this course will certainly help you in the world of finance and commerce. The next piece of advice was specifically for year 11. And that was to choose subjects that will stretch you. Nearly all subjects are interesting once you knuckle down and get past the initial barrier. Yeah, it's sort of like training for a sport. The training's not that great, but once you get into the competition or playing with the team, then you begin to really benefit from the training. He goes on to say some well-meaning advisors suggest you pick easy subjects so you'll achieve a high raw score. His advice is don't do that. You won't be doing yourself a favour. You'll be diminishing your long-term prospects. Instead, choose the enabling subjects, the ones that keep the doors of opportunity open. Every time you drop an enabling subject, bang, a door of opportunity slams shut. And maths is clearly an enabling subject. If not always for its content, like I've said, it's because of the thinking skills that you will develop because you study mathematics at this level. However, there is no substitute for raw knowledge. You have to know things. You have to be able to recall things. Even in this age of internet search, after all, there is no use of being able to collaborate with someone else, if you have nothing distinctive to contribute, if you don't have some knowledge that you can share with others, then you won't be invited to collaborate. Collaborate is again another word that you're going to hear a lot of out there in whatever field you enter into post-school. So, with those things in mind, appreciate the fact that maths is a really valuable subject. It's not going to be easy. It is going to be a subject that stretches you. It is going to require some hard work, which probably for a lot of you will mean some big changes. So now we're going to do something different. I'm going to ask you all to stand up. Now I want you to focus, obviously just on yourself, and I have a few things for you to think about. So regardless of whether you intend to sit the HSC exam or not, I need you to be aware that the emphasis in this class is about you knuckling down, getting past initial barriers, building your long-term prospects, and developing the skills that will enable you to contribute to worthwhile situations. So, I would ask that you stay standing if you also are committed to knuckling down, getting past initial barriers, building your long-term prospects, and developing the skills you'll need so that you will be a worthwhile contributor in the collaborative world. Okay, good. Second thing I'd like you to think about, whether you're aiming for an ATAR, an apprenticeship, or you're not even sure what you want to do post Year 12, you're being presented with a wonderful opportunity to succeed. So, I'm asking you to stay standing if you want to succeed. If not, you can sit down. Okay. Thirdly, I want you to know that you have my 100% commitment. I will work very hard for you, each one of you. But in return, I ask the same from you. So, stay standing if you also are 100% committed to this subject. If not, you need to sit down and have a long, hard think. And then finally, being committed from a student's perspective will require change. You will be required to demonstrate respect and develop relationships because they're key requirements in this class. Please stay standing if you're prepared to show respect for all and endeavour to build your relationship with this subject. Very good. Well, I said things were going to be different. We can all sit down now and have a look at some of the content that we need to perfect in order for us to achieve our very best in this subject. So normally you will be watching this video at home. So that again is something very different. I'm going to go through the videos with you in class for probably 2-3 lessons, but then, and that's just because I want to observe you watching the video and to give you some direction if you need help. So the idea behind watching the video at home is that for a lot of this, it's just a simple concept. I introduce it to you, I do some examples that enables you to get started on the easier questions. When you come to class, and all of that is done for homework, when you come to class we start to talk about the more difficult questions, and I'm here to support you and get through those more difficult ones. It's often the reverse. You do the easy work in class and you go home and do the difficult questions for homework, and we find that doesn't work that well for the majority of students. The other thing about the videos is once you, there's no reason why you can't re-listen to them. You can pause it at any time, you can rewind, you can do that as many times as isn't needed. And and once it's been recorded, then you have the ability to do that. Okay, with this first exercise, there's a few things that we really need to note, and it's introduction to algebra basically. And the biggest thing that I would encourage you to pay attention to are the words, the actual worded instruction. So word instructions are like shown here in red. The instruction might be simplify, or solve, or substitute, or evaluate. Now, you really need to know the difference between these. You need to know exactly what simplify means, and it's different to solve. The things you can do when you simplify are not the same as the things you do when you are solving. Substituting, different technique again, and evaluating. So, if you haven't in the past made sure you understand these words, then maybe you'll need to get yourself a little formula book going and make a note of these words. When we simplify expressions, then all we're doing is trying to make an expression smaller. In that expression, you'll have pronumerals, numbers, and more importantly, mathematical operations. So depending on whether it's an addition operation, a subtraction, a multiply or divide, there are certain rules. I'm not going to go over these rules. I'll leave them for you to look back at. If you don't know these rules, there's something that, again, you need to note and learn. Remember, we said there is a requirement for you to be able to contribute knowledge that you have. So these rules are like basic knowledge that you've acquired. In addition to those rules, please be aware that order of operations, or some of you might know it by BODMAS, brackets over division, multiplication, addition, and then subtraction must be applied when you're dealing with algebraic terms and you're simplifying. So, some steps. 1, check the mathematical operation. Why? Because it determines the rule. Check the pronumerals in each term. And 3, check the number or the coefficient of each term. Anything there you don't understand, please make a note of and ask me about it. So from the exercise, just follow this you do instruction.